People didn't tune in live, didn't get the beginning part of it, but here, let me share the screen. Okay. So, like I said, some of this stuff is going to be a refresher, but these are the 4 principles that I find to be the most important to remember as you go on throughout your day to day, and they apply to all different areas. So, what you're going to see me talk about, there are some that you're like, I never thought of it to use it for use in that way, and that's the idea. That's how people grow and then maintain that growth and keep growing and actually see the biggest difference. Is you might find that some of the stuff that we've applied to stress or to food or whatever can be applied to areas in your relationship or your job or whatever. So you know me, I love, oh my God, wait, how do I get to the chat from here? Can I get the chat from here? Hold on. I'm tech challenged. There we go. Okay, so it didn't open the chat, but I'll check back with the chat after I've done this segment. So I want you guys to be commenting back with us. If something is sticking out to you, if something is, you don't understand it, whatever the case may be, I want you to point it out and leave it in the chat, okay? So the first thing is there is a time and there is a place. This is a huge concept when it comes to stressing. You may have heard me talk about this and say, if there is something that you're really scared about that you can't figure out, that you put a time to it. You look at your calendar, you pick a time, you put it in your schedule, and that is when you worry about it. That is when you plan a solution or whatever. So having a time and a place for everything in terms of food, that could be a worth it moment. Those of you who are watching who are new and are like, what the hell is she talking about? Check out the videos in the classroom. The worth it moments for food is, it's not saying that I'm never going to have this food again. It's saying that there is a time and a place for that food. And that is why it's not going to affect you negatively. So that's a way that it applies. Thermostat, thermometer. Thinking about it and saying, am I controlling my own temperature, or am I going up and down with the temperature of the room? Thinking about it in terms of, there is a time and place to worry about this. There is a time and place for me to figure this out. That combined with deciding, there is a time and place for this food. There is a time and place for this activity that I want to do. Let's say on an exhausted flare day. Having that concept, there is a time and a place, helps us when it becomes so easy for us to get stuck in the now. It's so easy when you've gone so long feeling like crap to feel like everything is just about right now. So reminding yourself that you have time to focus on things, to work on things, that is really important. It's like bugging me out that I'm this close. Don't be your own heckler. That is something that's really, really like easier said than done, for sure. And I've been there, I was my own heckler for a very, very long time. I used to think it was part of my humor, honestly. And I used to, whether it was me saying it out loud or, thinking it to myself, I would be putting myself down all the time. And I wrote kind of a hard ass caption there. I wrote, that thought you just thought that was limiting, down-putting, or claim something bad about yourself in a way that can't be redeemed. Why? Why? What purpose does that serve, feeling that way, thinking that way? No one feels bad for you because you can't do something. That is something I'm speaking from personal experience. Of course, what I don't mean is, of course, you have sympathy for not being able to do something that is out of your control, like the true tragedy. Health-wise, of course. But what I mean is, let's say you're putting yourself down because you said this week you weren't going to eat sugar and you had some sugar and you're talking all this smack to yourself. Do you think anyone feels so bad for you as bad as you're feeling for yourself right now because you had that? Because you can't have sugar on the regular and be fine? No, nobody feels bad for you, you know? So don't continue to keep yourself down and heckle yourself and just talk smack constantly, because what purpose does it serve? And before anybody's like, well, I can't stop it, you can. You can. It's not like you can't in this Zoom, you know, but it's not that it's not doable. The concept of don't be your own heckler is something that, you know, takes a lot of time to develop. But you are in charge of the choice of how badly you speak about yourself or think about yourself. Okay. Number 3, not my circus, not my monkeys. I love this one because I am a caring person. I also have OCD. So, not my circus, not my monkeys has been a lifesaver for me in so many capacities. When it comes to people, when it comes to trying to prevent certain events from happening or trying to make certain events happen, you know, things like that, things that are really not within my realm or my control or my right to have a say in. I used to confuse my caring for control. And that's something I can say and I can be humble about. It took a lot of self-reflection, because if anyone told me that's what I was doing back in the day, I would have been pissed at them. But since I've been able to grow and realize and say and look inward, not with guilt or shame or putting myself down, but look inward for info on how I can always improve, because we all could always improve. Not my circus, not my monkeys has been the savior. Um, Controlling situations can be out of love. It can be out of, you know, wanting to do what's best or wanting to do something for someone. But a lot of times it's also out of proving yourself, feeling worthy, wanting to be appreciated, not wanting to be left. Those are reasons that people take on other people's baggage or their problems, their emotions, whatever. Um, you know, other people having a problem with you eating the way that you eat or you doing what you do. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Okay. This caption I wrote here, I was like, I almost wanted to like stop and write up a post about it after, because I was like really inspired by it. But taking on someone else's problems will not make them appreciate you, make them understand you, make them owe you, make them value you, make them do what you think is best, or make them realize what they don't want to realize. It could make you feel needed, because that's ultimately when you feel like there's so much out of control in your life every day. And when something you're good at is doing things for other people, it could make you feel needed and feel wanted and all of those things, appreciated, because you would appreciate it if someone did it for you. But the minute that they don't do those same things for you, because that's just not in their nature, it feels so personal and so hurtful. You know, you need you. There is no reason, you weren't put on this earth to be needed by anybody. And it is a privilege to need to have someone need you and you be there for them. And that's just the name of the game when it comes to supporting each other. Two people should both be caring about each other. So whether it has to do with a person, whether it has to do with, and that person could be an employer, it could be a friend. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a parent. You know, narcissistic parents is a very common theme that I see amongst clients. I know it well myself, you know, but continue to remind yourself of the choice you have in every situation. You have the choice to say, not my circus, not my monkeys, or to let it eat at you. Be the advice you get. Oh, wait, and I skipped a part here. 5-5. The 5-5 rule here. Oh, and I skipped fake it till you make it. Son of a bitch. I even want to have notes. The ADD is strong. But 5-5 rule here. There is a video about it. Those of you who are new, in the Academy page. It is a quick coping tool to use in the moment when you're feeling like overly consumed by something and it's hard to kind of break away from that. I find that 5-5 is really great when I am trying to think of not my circus, not my monkeys. When it is not my problem, I literally, and I feel compelled to be involved. I have to like pull myself away and do my 5-5. I also find, what is it? Damn, I had another tool on the page I want to recommend. I'll probably remember after, but I'll comment it. Now, before I get to the next topic, I skipped over fake it till you make it don't be your own heckler. That is something that is very hard to just teach you through a Zoom. If you have any questions about fake it till you make it, I want to kind of reserve that even for our calls or text back and forth, because fake it till you make it, I'm sure there is a video in the page about it. I'm not sure what it's called, if it's even called that, but it's so important, because when you are sitting there and you're being your own heckler, just as quick as you could be your own heckler, you could be your own support system. And it might feel fake at first to pump yourself up mentally, even if you're not feeling it, to tell yourself, like, go and do that scary thing. You got this, even if you don't feel like you got this. But I promise you, the more you fake it till you make it and you push yourself outside of that comfort zone, and you see how okay you are when you do it, and not even how okay you are, but how much better you feel and are doing, it becomes so much easier to let that loud, happy, cheering you on voice over talk the heckler. But it takes getting used to at first. Okay. So fake it till you make it is great for that. Number 4, and I'm seeing notifications for the chat, so I love that you guys are commenting. It's driving me crazy that I can't look at it after this. Be the advice you give. If thinking it or speaking it doesn't match what you tell people you care about, then you are lying to them. Now, is this 100% true 100% of the time? Are you ever going to grow to the point where you don't think something negative or limiting? No. That is the thing. Doesn't matter how grown you are. Freaking Tony Robbins, I'm sure, has human days. There is no level of growth that you can hit where natural issues like self-doubt, worry, being upset, things like that, those are emotions. There is no way to just turn that off without turning off emotion, and we don't want to do that. So it's not about not feeling that way. It is about knowing to pinpoint when those thoughts and beliefs are not serving you, and flipping the script and coaching yourself through it. That is what we're all working towards. You guys, a lot of you don't believe this, but when I was younger, I was the most negative, downtrodden, worried human being ever. Like I mentioned earlier, as like part of my charisma was to just be an asshole to myself and like laugh it off and all of that, and worry about everything, overanalyze everything. And I was so sick, and it was like, even if nothing were to ever get better with health physically. Now I believe, and it's been proven to me time and time again, the mind and the body are very connected. But let's say nothing were to improve with physical anything. But at the very least, you lived each day where you felt happy, you felt content, you felt respected, and you felt valuable. Even if you had to face hardship, even if you didn't feel well, even if you didn't like the body you were in necessarily the way it looked. But if you felt those things genuinely, your body wouldn't even register, right? Be the advice you give. If you have to remind yourself of that, do it. Remind yourself of that over and over and over and over again. There is no reason why we can't abide by the same thing we try to instill in the people we care about. None. The only difference is when we care about those people, we care about them, and that is it. There are no stipulations. We have stipulations on why we care about ourselves. Our body has to look a certain way, has to act a certain way. We have to have a certain amount of energy each day, do a certain amount of things, be a certain level of sharpness every day, be attractive, be this, be that, be this, be that. Just the goal is contentment, and be the advice you give. So I am schwitzing in this room, right up against this screen. I don't have air conditioning in here. Woo! Mod on. Okay. Oh, I can open the chat in here. That's awesome. Okay. So, Yvonne, it's like you're talking directly to me. I'm not a sweet tooth person, but for some reason, I guess I've been in my I don't give a fuck mode, and I'll deal with it later moods. And then the time comes and I'm like, I need to stop, and I'm struggling a bit more these days with it. And I feel like personal things have something to do with it. They always do. But the important thing is learning how to cope with that, how to work with that, because it's never going to change about life. It's never going to be that that's not the case. It's just knowing how to work with that. How do you know the difference between controlling and caring, though? I feel like it's a fine line. It certainly is a fine line, but caring, you have to look at what that caring means. So from the age of 15, I was sending my father emails after emails of nutrition plans, diet plans, urging him to be healthier, to care about his body, because he would eat like very, very heavy stuff. He would eat well into the night. Like he would carry his weight all in the stomach, which I have always been the health nerd that I am because I've always had to advocate for myself with doctors. But I had known that like stomach fat is what they call heart attack fat. And I had always been so worried about my dad and his eating habits. And it just didn't do a damn thing. All it did was earn me the title of being the food Nazi, even though you guys know me, like, even though I would restrict myself like hell, but I just wanted him to maybe have some fruit instead of like a pound of pasta in one sitting every night of the week. So it became an issue where it was so much emotional energy for me, and I just was not being heard. I was not being taken seriously, and it wasn't doing anything. And at the end of the day, if you care about somebody, you can care about them because you want them to make better decisions. You want them to change or do something that you know it's going to be better if they do it that way. But you can't make them do it, even if you want to. So the best way to care for them is to care for their happiness and health the best you can, to a point where it doesn't take away from your own life doing so. You know, eventually, you know, my father had to have a triple bypass surgery, you know, and, you know, I never got any kind of recognition for, you know, you had been warning me, you had been telling me this your whole life. I never got any recognition for food. My father knows what I do for a living and still will talk to me about carbs and like argue with me sometimes. And if I suggest something to him, he like brushes it off. And then a week later he's doing keto. You know, it's just, at the end of the day, you can have the best intentions for somebody, but if the way those intentions play out isn't actually going to benefit that human because of their own doing, then at that point, the only person who's losing is you, because your energy is being spent on something that is immovable. And as much as that sucks, the other part of that is, if that hearing that or thinking that where you have to let it go makes you really, really, really upset, then it's control. Because, you know, it's shitty. It's shitty, but, you know, it ultimately, bring a horse to water, you can't make them drink, you know? If that's not specific to what you mean, then if you can give me a little bit more insight into what you mean. I'm so glad this is helping, Tara. That's a good question. That's tough for me too. I start overthinking, like, what if so and so makes me look like shit or the bad person? Well, number one, the best thing you could do is to never care if you're being made to look like the bad person. Like, and I know that that sounds really bad, but you know in your heart you're not a bad person, and you know in your heart what you're doing is not something a bad person would do. You know your intentions, you know? So whatever somebody else tries to make you look like or thinks you are, that's their own prerogative. You know, if we live all our lives thinking we have to act in a way that would make others represent us correctly, we're putting so much control in other people's hands. We can do a far better job with our own reputation than anybody else can. So people only really give a damn about what you're saying and doing and stuff like that if it affects them. I also got told I'm controlling, but I actually literally give a shit. So that's the other thing. Like, you know, say your piece. This is a good way to explain that concept. Say your piece, make your intentions known, and let the chips fall where they may. Because beyond, you know, you express your care, you express your concern, anything else that happens after the fact, you did the only thing that was asked of you as someone who cares and is concerned. So, okay, one, I talk from experience, and two, I truly care and I want things to go right because I want to make people happy. So I look for a way to make everything work. Understand that that is a concept that if other people can't see what you see, like if they're at a point where they're adamant about doing something incorrectly or in a way that you know is going to lead them wrong, then they have no idea what they're doing. And they need to have their moment, like you had that moment when you learned what to do or how to handle it. They need to have that moment for themselves, because not only does it then turn into, if it doesn't work out the way they wanted, they'll just blame you, even if the outcome's good one day. You know, there's just so many areas for them to resent you when you did a good thing. And for you at the end of the day to not feel appreciated, to not feel understood, any of those things. Anything you do for someone else can't make you be understood, if that makes sense. Okay, so I want to explain the heckler. I had gotten a private message about explaining the heckler more. The heckler is, don't put yourself down. Yeah, but don't tell yourself things like, oh, I could never wear that. I could never pull off that hair. I could never do my makeup like that. I don't know, whatever it is. If you're stating a way you thought it was limiting, down-putting, okay, limiting. That would be nice if we could get that apartment, but we'll never get out of here. Or I always want this, but it never happens my way. It always happens that I have bad luck. Any of those things. And that kind of ties into the affirmations aspect of be the advice you give is, what are you putting out there? What are you stating as fact? That you absolutely can't do something? Of course you can. It's just you can't yet. So being your own heckler and saying like, you stink, you suck, give it up, it's not going to happen. What purpose does that serve? The real failure is giving up instead of finding a solution. This is such a common theme. And I'm going to bring up the Dyson example again. Sorry, guys, roll your eyes privately. But the Dyson example, 5,122 prototypes didn't work when they were searching for their first ridiculously overpriced vacuum to put to market. So 5,122 times they were like, this is it, this is the one, and then it didn't work. And they were humiliated and had to go back and do it again. So ever since I heard that example, I refuse to believe that something can't be done. When it gets done, how it gets done, that may change. But if you're going to heckle yourself out of doing something, then either you don't want to do it to begin with, or you're afraid of the failure for it. But the only failure is when you give up instead of finding that solution. That's when failure happens, is when we stop. Okay. So I am gonna pass out from the heat in this office. I don't know if you guys can see me starting to literally perspire on camera, but if you guys need any elaboration on any of this, if you want to have a conversation about it, whatever, I am always down. I am the feedback queen. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Implement these strategies and concepts throughout the week and let me know if they help. Good night. Love you guys. Bye.